This is from a series of interviews that I shot in January of 2021 for the Mind, Body, Soul documentary project, where we will be hiking the Continental Divide Trail and exploring the effects that nature has on our well-being. To find out more about the project, visit mindbodysoulfilm.com.
My name's Paul Classon. We are sitting in my garage right now, and Redline backpacking headquarters. This garage is in a town called Sandwich, Illinois, like the sandwich. Well, the town next to us is called Plano, so everybody calls it like a Plano bologna sandwich. Like if there was a town in the middle, it'd be called bologna. It's pretty, yeah.
That's funny. What's it like to guide people in the wilderness?
When you're guiding, you go in like, okay, and it's regimented out. Like you know exactly what to expect and how it's going to work. Like, okay, like I have everybody, and that's why I have everybody come over here before the trip, and we do shakedowns, and we go through all their gear, and we talk about everything they need for the trip, what to expect for the trip, what kind of shape to be in for the trip. Like, do you need this? Do you need that? Like, and really break it down immensely, and then you get the camaraderie going amongst the group. I get a real strong emotional attachment to every group I take and every person I take, you know. Like it means a lot to me to be able to take them out there, and it means a lot to me to see their growth. Almost like an empath nature, like and I didn't know how to have good enough boundaries in place to where I didn't just absorb all of their shit. And then at the end of the trip, I would just be like, oh, like, couldn't get off the couch for a week, you know, because you're just like drained. Well, which is where the solo, it's funny how this all came around. The solo trips come in great for that, because that lets me to go out there and fuel that tank back up, but it also lets me get in touch with those parts of me that need attention, and so I can grow and not let those kinds of things happen, right? Yeah. To be in charge of your emotions and not let your emotions rule you, right? Like to rule your mind and not let your mind rule you, sort of thing, you know? We see emotion and feeling as like something holding us back, like we hate it. Like emotions are like a hindrance, you know? We got a pill for everything to fix everything. You have anxiety, well, here's some pills. We got this, here, have this, you know? And we just push, you know, like that way you don't ever have to actually deal with anything. But if you learn how to deal with it, you're going to really experience the human experience to its fullest. Fear is powerful. Fear makes people seek comfort, and no growth is going to occur when you're comfortable. I mean, it's a trap. Comfort is quite literally a trap.
Is nature comfortable?
Well, we'll touch on a little subject from this summer. Out in Wyoming, Cloud Peak, ain't nobody was comfortable there for more than about 5 minutes. I mean, it was chilly to start, and then it got warm and it was nice, right? Perfect. Nice warm day, and then thunderstorms roll through and you're not so comfortable anymore, and then it gets cold. And then the next day we were there. Started off nice in the morning, you were comfortable, you had your coffee, and then the sun come over the ridge of the mountains, right? So the sun's hitting you and you're feeling it and you're warming up. Okay, we're ready to go. And then it started raining on us. Rained most of the afternoon. It hailed on us 3 different times. I mean, you were comfortable for only really short periods of time, you know, and it was like really metaphorical to like how life is, and comfort's an illusion. It's an illusion. You know, you're never, life is constantly changing. To live outside your comfort zone and to seek discomfort is courageous.
What are the benefits of hiking solo or with a group?
Well, humans are naturally social creatures, so there's the obvious. When you're spending time in nature with other people, you're filling that social need. So it's kind of like you're you can feed off of each other's energies, right? And when you're doing it solo, you don't have that, but the opportunity for you to develop a more intimate relationship with yourself is there. And I really think that, in a nutshell, that's what nature really provides for me personally, is that. Because, I mean, how often do people really spend time with just themselves? And when you're in nature, like in the wilderness, sometimes 20, 30, 50 miles from anything, phone service, so you have no connection. And like, I mean, that is just soul food at its best right there. Your best friend, your best partner, your best lover, your best advisor is you. If you can't, you need to love every inch of you immensely, tremendously. And when you do that, and because you're spending every minute of your life with yourself. And if you hate the person you're spending time with, it's a major challenge for people. That's where the pandemic in the last 9 months have really paid huge dividends for me personally, is that it's cut away a lot of the fat, so to speak, just by nature of the pandemic, when everybody's, because everybody, falls back into themselves and their own existence a little bit more. Like, the stage was set perfectly for like, okay, here's your stage for growth. Like, just go, and I embraced it, and it feels really good.
What is nature to you?
I think when you go out into nature, you're going home, pretty layman's way to put it, but you're kind of going home, right? I mean, that's before we turned into this big complex society we are today. I mean, that was it. And I think we're so far removed for that. Like, anybody who lives in like a city now, maybe somebody who's lived in a city that's never been. It's a connection that is healthy to make.
Has the pandemic made us more or less removed from nature?
I think the pandemic's just going to reshape lots of things for lots of people. I don't know. It's been different for everybody. And if you troll social media at all, or, I mean, you're within a few minutes, you're going to see somebody complaining about 2020 and goodbye 2020 and on to the next new year. And it's just like, I mean, I don't know. It wasn't that bad, I didn't think. I mean, we could all use some time to look inward, you know what I mean? Go for a hike. Find a local forest reserve near you, anywhere. I mean, you can go out anywhere, any state, you can find something, Just on a day hike at the local forest reserve, for me personally, I mean, I could go through every emotion you could experience in a lifetime in one day out there, And that's just the freedom of no distractions, the freedom of no agenda flowing in from anywhere, no noise, none of that floating around. You're just to get closer to yourself is to get closer to nature, really. For me, that was a huge part of it, and I just use it to get really deep in my connection with nature for me personally. And where I am at now, mentally and emotionally, is a really good place. And I've worked really hard to get here. And wilderness and time in nature is good medicine. And then when you do that, and then you come back, like, you have such a sense of calm and clarity. And clarity's really, I think, what a lot of people crave in their life is clarity,
Do you see nature as a place for escape?
I think most people think it's good for an escape. I think that's the pop culture. And I was guilty of that for a period of time too. I think the epiphany, once the epiphany comes of, holy shit, this isn't an escape, this is a tool to use to make me a healthy, well-rounded person. It's hugely important not to think, okay, go to nature to hide from everything. And a lot of people say that a lot. A lot of people I've taken on trips, I want to get away. Well, right away, that's a flag to me that says they're just trying to escape whatever's going on. Well, like, I've gotten to the point now where wilderness is a part of my daily routine. Like, I go to the wilderness 3 days a week. I go every Sunday morning. I get up early and I go to a state park, which is about 45 minutes from here. It's part of my self-care regiment. Like, it's part of my daily life that I do to take care of me and my soul, because I know I need to be there.
Is there a spiritual element in nature for you?
You ever had somebody say, I'll use this, a pretty good example, I think. I've had somebody tell me before, you have really good fucking energy. Like, I can feel your energy. Like, you have really good energy. Like, that I would say is my spirit. And I could say when your energy is bad, when you're putting out like maybe low vibrational energy, you know, you're on like the very egotistical end of the scale, like resentment, fear, anger, like that type of thing. Your spirit is just like sick, right? And when you're on the healthier side, like the forgiveness and gratitude and abundance, you know, like end of the scale, to where your energy, like your spirit is healthy, and you can, and I think you can feel that. Like I said, when you're sitting down, you can feel the earth's energy. Like you can feel, you ever go into a room and you can just like feel the energy in the room? Like that's that. Like that's the spirit of the room, I would say. It's a good way to use the wilderness too, right? Your spirit's a little sick. I'm going to go out. It's kind of like going to the doctor almost, you know?
It's a spirit doctor.
Yeah, it is. Which I think is where you're seeing like a lot of people in this pandemic right now who are like, say, maybe trolling social media and just putting out a whole bunch of negativity all the time. Their spirit is sick, I would say. A lot of things that maybe they could do before the pandemic have been taken away. Masks, if you will. So they're forced to like sit with maybe themselves, and maybe they don't like themselves that much, or maybe their spirit is sick and they don't know what to do, so they're just sitting in a cesspool of negativity and sickness, right? So if you can get on, and you know, I mean, you may ask like, okay, well, how do I be healthy? How does my spirit get healthy? How do I get on the healthy end of the vibrational scale? And for me, that comes back to gratitude every time. Like I have a gratitude journal, and every morning I wake up, that's my routine. I wake up and I write, first of all, I journal about how I feel, and then I'll just write things I'm grateful for. And I do that every morning. Saturday morning, I go to a CrossFit gym and I do a class in the morning, and it's great. That combined with wilderness and my other journaling and other things I do for my well-being, like it's like it's the holy trinity of Paul Classon, you know?
Have you seen anyone transform in nature?
Well, this would be a good one. This is a good societal example too, I think. She was a business professional right around my age, like this is a few years ago. She was probably like 40 when the trip happened. And she had went through a pretty messy divorce, mom of 2 boys. So she had to basically start over from nothing. And very type A type personality. Lives in the suburbs, you know, so she's into the I don't know, the suburban grind, you could call it. So when she went on this trip, she had maybe 6 months or a year before that, she had been assaulted. And she woke up in her house like half clothed and had been like beaten pretty badly. So she went to the doctor, whatever, did the rape test, all that stuff, you know, and she hadn't been raped. And I had put a post out on social media saying I was going to do this trip. And she was the first one. She hit me up within like the hour it had been posted, like, I want to do this trip for sure. Very nervous though. Like, never done anything like it. What did we say? She's like a diva. She's very nervous about having to go to the bathroom in the woods. And very nervous to not take a shower for 5 days. And well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? You know, and I go through gear very, you know, specifically over each piece of gear, and then I show them all of my gear, and then I look at their gear, and I'm like, okay, this, and this, and then you can use this, and then I'll show them how to use the stuff and try to really make them feel comfortable. And then, you know, but that can only go so far. You know, you can get the comfort of the group, and there'll be some camaraderie, but then when you get out there and you see a big fucking mountain, and you're just like, holy shit. And I know that's what happened with her. And we got to the trailhead, and it was 9,100 feet elevation. Probably never been there before in her life. And it wasn't nice that first day. It was cloudy and rainy, and it was about 55 degrees. And the river crossing is a mile and a half in from the trailhead. And that was thigh high, and it was rolling, and it was cold. And they were prepared for it. They were prepared for everything. They were prepared for the temperature, but we had to cross that the first day. We did that, got to camp, and it was cold. I mean, it was cold that first day. I'd say cloudy all day, and it got cold, and it got really cold that night. So we all ended up staying in one tent. So there's 5 of us in one tent, which is great for the warmth, right? So that one tent I have, which holds 4 people, probably max as far as comfort, we had 6 people in there. Man, we were in there in shorts and t-shirts playing cards. The next day, well, of course, she got to go to the bathroom, and she peed, and then, well, she had to take a shit. She takes a shit, and she comes dancing out of the woods. I just shit in the woods like this, you know. She was so proud of herself and so excited. And I mean, she just had the biggest fucking grin on her face. Well, so then the sun comes out and it gets nicer every day. It's getting nicer and warmer. The next morning she woke up, and I was outside getting breakfast ready and coffee for everybody. And I think it might have been Coop, but somebody started busting out laughing. And she's like, what's so funny? And they're like, your lips, they're huge. And she's like, she started freaking out, you know. And I don't know if she looked on her phone, on the camera or whatever, and her lips are just swelled up really big because they got sunburned. The whole tent was rolling laughing by the time they came out of the tent for breakfast. Like, everybody in there is just laughing hysterically. And she comes out and she's got these huge lips. She's like, look at my face. So, super nervous going into the trip. Nervous about shitting in the woods, peeing in the woods, no showering. So this girl's peed in the woods, shit in the woods. Got sunburn, her lips are like bratwursts. Nearly froze to death, and she's laughing hysterically, and like, just, I think that was like she truly just totally had like surrendered to the whole thing, and was just like, she's one of those stories, like she goes on a trip almost every year now. And it's a part of her. Like, she has her own backpack now. She has a lot of her own gear. I mean, she's totally welcomed in that weigh like the wilderness as a tool for wellness for sure. Because when you're like in the city, you can't really connect with somebody like that because everybody has walls up and guards up because it's dangerous and you got to be scared and you got to be aware of another person's maybe agenda or another person's intentions. You know, out there, you've surrendered completely. Like there's like, it's genuine, it's authentic, and people feel it. And I think that's what aids in the connection, and that's what aids in the fulfillment for me. I mean, I should do this more often. Take like a picture at the beginning and the end of each trip, or a little short video of just each people's demeanor. If you could gauge that each time, like I have it logged in my mind, but if you could see it just for the pure contrast of it, like, I mean, it unrecognizable sometimes probably.
What kind of things does nature force you to confront?
Like, and when you can do that, because that's the biggest demon anybody has, is what's up here. Like if you want to go external with it, like addiction, say, that's up here. If you want to go any other addiction or any other demon somebody has, addiction just seemed like a real easy one to pick, but they're all up here. And if you can, what are you doing in nature when you're by yourself? It's just you and the demon, right? You're out there. It's cathartic. It's in the background of everything you do. It's in the background of every little maybe bad habit you have, or every little procrastination you have, or every fractured relationship you have, or my parents and I don't get along good, or my brother and I don't get along good, or my wife and I don't get along good, or my son and I don't get along good, you know, like it's all of that's all there. And that's that demon. That's that demon. Like that's, if you choose the path of comfort, that demon's still going to be there, and it's going to show up in all those things. It's hard. It's hard because of what's up here. It's hard because of that demon, you know. You make friends with that demon, and he could sleep in bed with you, or drink coffee with you, or go have a beer with you. I mean, you're doing pretty good. It's a gateway to self-awareness, really.
So how have you dealt with your demon?
It was like 6 years ago, and I was 4-ish years out of a divorce. I was still repeating the same choice cycles and the same thought cycles. I was still living in the fear comfort zone. Now I'm like, that zone is so far away from where I'm at now, like I almost can't even, like, it's almost hard to believe that I was there. I mean, I was self-sabotaging like myself all the time, just negative self-talk, lost emotionally, you know. I felt lonely, I felt insecure. I knew I needed to make a change, but I wasn't sure what the change was, and I was just really scared, probably. I knew I needed to go do that trip, and I wanted to go do that trip, and I think that's why I hit the trail so, like, balls to the wall, kind of. But then I was like, all of those demons that maybe I was probably hiding from, they came out. They were just waiting, like, oh, look at this guy. Oh, we're going to get him, you know, like salivating, waiting for me, and they came out. And you're loving everything. Man, the views are so great. Oh, the air is so crisp, right? Man, you can see forever. Man, that mountain, I'm going to climb that mountain. That's going to be awesome. And then you get tired, you get to camp, and you're like, oh, maybe the first night's pretty good. And you wake up the next morning, you have coffee, and then, you know, you'll be hiking the next day a little bit, and then you'll start having the demon will come out to play and dance around. And you'll be like, I mean, so for me, like, I mean, I've went through sitting on a rock on the side of Cloud Peak, just sobbing uncontrollably for hours. I questioning every part of myself and life. And I should just go back to my car. I never should have did this trip, right? I never should have did this trip. And then I just want to drive back to the nearest town I can and go find a bar stool and sit on it and drink beer. And just to be social again, but just to go back to an old comfort. Because I'm not being out here with the demon was kicking my ass all over the place. And I think I spent a whole day, I didn't leave my tent, I just laid there and I had my journal and I tried to do stuff and I just kind of putzed around camp, and which was good. It was good. And that's one of those things that like the nature did. It was great. Like it provided this wonderful stage for me to sit there and do nothing. And probably more happened during the course of that trip and probably the course of that day than I could probably tell you or put into words probably. It was exactly as cathartic as it needed to be, and it did everything it needed to do, because that's why I'm here right now, an empowered version of that demon sitting here. And now, like when that demon comes knocking, he sits next to me and we have coffee and we talk, and he doesn't control me anymore. And that demon could be, probably what it is for a lot of people, I mean, maybe not a great upbringing, or maybe not a great relationship with your parents, or maybe a breakup here or there, a divorce, or self-worth issues, or every human being has had to confront their own self-worth at some point. There's been a lot of nights sitting on that kitchen floor, just bottle of booze between my legs, crying and drinking, and even out there in Cloud Peak, I mean, I've pushed the limits with those demons hard, but that's just who I am as a person. Like, I'm a intense person, so I'm gonna go, and I'm glad I did those things, because I am in the best place I've ever been in my life. And it, from an outsider's perspective, maybe not, we're sitting in my little humble abode, right? And you were in my house and you see the little tiny house, and, if they looked at my bank account or looked at my car or whatever, but that doesn't mean shit. When you literally are that grateful for life that you cannot believe that you are you, none of that matters. And then when you're that grateful, you attract everything. Your abundance, so you attract abundance in your life, and your love, and you attract love in your life, and you're secure, and you attract security into your life. And that is the wilderness. Really that's my experience with that. Without the wilderness being there, all of that growth would not have occurred. It sucks because you got to go in to come out, Yeah, it's hard and painful, and you're going to have to face things that you don't want to face. That's why we have all of these masks. That's why humans mask everything that they do, because they don't want to face that. I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to talk about that. I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to deal with that. I'm just going to have a drink so I don't have to deal with this, or I'm going to have a smoke so I don't have to deal with this, or I'm going to be promiscuous so I don't have to deal with this, or whatever it is, whatever mask you choose, or sometimes it's multiple masks, but you're running from yourself. Really knowing yourself well enough to know all of those things is an amazing gift, because you get to the point where you're so grateful that you can't even believe that you are you. You know what I mean? I cannot believe that this is me, and this is my life, and this is my existence. That's how grateful I am now at this point, really.
And don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube and follow us on social media to stay up to date with this project.